This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. You guys catch the games this weekend? You guys see the Subway Series? You see what Juan Soto did? It was easy to miss what Juan Soto did because Juan Soto didn't do anything. Welcome to the podcast. We are live. Happy Monday, 2 o'clock Eastern. And again, just tweeted this, declaring it again live on the show. This is going to be the best podcast of the year so far. Maybe not by the end of the year. We don't know how the year ends. Out of all the podcasts we've done so far this year, this is the best one. It hasn't happened yet. It's the best podcast of the year. Wow. Where to start? Trademark example this weekend over and over and over again of people just not getting it when it comes to interpreting Yankee fans. People looking to, for the worst in Yankee fans, looking to figure out why Yankee fans are stupid before looking to fairly appraise a situation. And you heard it over and over again with the boos and the gestures to Juan Soto. And why did I don't understand. Why do they care so much about Juan Soto after he was just there for 1 year? I don't know. Why did everyone make a huge deal of Juan Soto's departure to the New York Mets when he left? Because he was a hugely impactful piece of an American League champion who hit the home run, who sent the Yankees directly to the World Series. If it shouldn't matter now, then why did it matter then? So everybody who's not a Yankee fan trying to police the way Yankee fans behaved. Also, everybody before the weekend being like, this is going to get dangerous, actually. They're going to throw boots at Juan Soto. And then when that didn't happen, now we move on to talking about why do they even care? Because they didn't do what you said they were going to do. They didn't throw cans or bottles at him. They didn't act like savages. They just came up with a coordinated movement, booed the shit out of him. It never stopped. It never ended. Why do they care? Because the guy who was their central cog last year moved on to another team in the same city for a similar price. Mets and Red Sox, those are the teams. Like, if you go to those teams, you're going to get booed. You're going to get screamed at. Why do they care? Because everybody yelled at them and said they didn't have a backup plan and said they were doomed this season as soon as Juan Soto left. And then they built a backup plan. Everybody said that backup plan is not good enough. You're all idiots. Anyone who thinks it's even comparable to what a team might look like with Juan Soto is fooling themselves. And then we got here, and contracts aren't decided on May 18th. Contracts aren't decided on the second month of a player's tenure in another city, but really funny weekend where Juan Soto did nothing of consequence or substance. Max Fried shoved. Paul Goldschmidt hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball above the zone for a ribby yesterday, made a lunging catch at first base, had a huge looper hit up the middle in the opener. Devin Williams was brilliant against the heart of the order twice in 3 games. And obviously, if you've been watching, that doesn't happen often. And even Cody Bellinger, who was entering the month of May under 200, just happened to have 7 RBI in the series, knocked in 6 runs yesterday, hit 2 homers, including the grand slam that all but ended the series in game 3. And what did Juan Soto do? Didn't hustle the first on a ground ball check swing to start the 8th inning, warmed up in shallow right field by game 3 because he didn't want to get anywhere close to the bleacher creatures who weren't doing anything, again, dangerous, just yelling at him, saying, you suck, saying F you. Apparently that was too much. Couldn't take it. Bob Clappish, a piece that just came out, noted that Juan Soto, after the game, the finale, did not speak to any reporters. He got dressed, walked towards the door, told a Mets official, quote, he'd be back to answer questions after seeing family members outside. Soto never returned. That's not the same stand-up guy who was always at his locker last season. Wow, weird how a conversation with Soto's family ended up having larger implications. That never happens. Quote from Clappish, there are troubling signs for the Mets hierarchy. I'm told they are concerned about Soto's lack of enthusiasm for his new team. The only time Soto seemed happy this weekend is while he interacted with Judge, manager Aaron Boone, and second baseman Jazz Chisholm during batting practice. So yeah, this matters. And it's not just you'd boo anyone. It's not just because he left for the Mets, right? Yankees haven't booed Clay Holmes, right? It's like the old line from the Derek Jeter SNL sketch. Nobody wants to have sex with Chuck Knobloch. Nobody is booing Clay Holmes. Everybody is booing Juan Soto, who embraced the fans in right field in a way we haven't seen from a Yankee outside of Judge in a decade, 2 decades, and then turned his back on them. So they turned his back on, right back. And if he didn't expect that to last all weekend, if he didn't expect that to last for all 15 years of his career with the Mets, then rude awakening this weekend. This looked like a man experiencing a rude awakening. And yes, ironically, the final grand slam to clinch the game sailed right over his head. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the show. Again, this is a regular season series. This is not a permanent victory lap. Juan Soto is going to be really good for the Mets. Juan Soto has a 136 OPS plus right now. He's already been good for the Mets. But what I needed from this weekend was Met fans going, where's the swagger? I don't get it. What happened to the guy who was on the Yankees? Why was he so happy with the Yankees? Is this guy just going to be a little bit worse every year of his Mets career until it's over? That's what I wanted, and that's what we got. So it was a good weekend.
It was a great weekend, and you know what? I'm going to enjoy it because we know what it would be if the script was flipped. If Soto hit a game-winning homer on Friday instead of making the final out. If Soto... if he kept the rally going on Friday instead of making the final out, if he had broken the tie last night late in the game and the Yankees lost the series, if one other bounce went the Mets' way and the Mets had won this series, the Yankees would obviously be a laughingstock. Oh, you lost Juan Soto in the offseason, then he comes right to your house and his team takes you down 2 out of 3. How does that feel? And it's funny because I see all the Mets fans on Twitter, which, I don't interact. It's just funny to watch. And they're like, oh, so you're just going to dig up old tweets of us shit talking you 3 months ago and now talk shit back to us? Guess we'll see how the next series goes in June or July or whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm going to dig up, like I'm not, but other people are going to dig up stupid shit that you decided to say. And they will tell you that it did not come to fruition and that you're an idiot because that's just how it works.
What was that tweet Friday night or maybe even Thursday night from that Mets guy that was like, this is a weekend New York will never forget. It starts now or whatever with Soto photoshopped in the black Mets jersey at Yankee Stadium. Look, that's the thing too. This was incredibly exciting and what a finale. And the Mets got one in the middle and the Yankees maybe should have swept this series, but it was a really good Subway series. And I'll watch the Bellinger highlights sometimes. I'll think about Soto not hustling, but am I going to really remember this beyond a couple weeks from now? I'm not going to tell my kids about this.
No.
It was a really fun weekend. The overreact and people claiming Yankee fans were overreacting. The Met fan overreaction was absurd. And then as soon as they lost the series, where'd it go? Disappeared into thin air. Didn't happen. Just a regular season. All of a sudden now it's just a regular season series. Doesn't matter. I don't victory lap series wins in May. I'll see you later in the year. I saw you on Friday. I saw you victory lapping it before it happened, and then you lost it. So where'd you go?
Look, it's fun. You're right. It's fun. This is what it's about, right? If Yankee, and I think everyone was wondering, you asked me on the show, how is Juan Soto going to be received? Is he going to get booed? And I paused and I was like, yeah, of course he's going to get booed. Did I think it was going to be this bad? No, I honestly didn't, but I'm glad that it happened that way because it added theatrics to the game. It added how many times do we hear a year that, baseball is boring. They're losing the youth aspect of the fandom. They don't have the same tenacity as other sports like NBA and NFL that kind of dominate more the mainstream culture. This was if fans could have watched all three, if general MLB fans could have watched all 3 of these games, I think they would have been thoroughly proud of just how the atmosphere is. And forget about it being Yankees Mets, right? If there was any rivalry, Yankees and Mets are not rivals. They share a city and they happen to play each other a couple times a year. What they do has no bearing on the other. But I think that if I were to poll a bunch of random fans right now who had watched a Sunday Night Baseball game, I would be happy with the results in terms of how they received that, how entertained they were, and how the narratives actually held some weight, right? Like we talked about Soto leaving and we were banged up about it for a week, some maybe longer. Some people are still upset about it. I understand it. I don't agree with it. I can get it. I refuse to get it because that's not how I choose to live because that's insane. But this was a massive free agent departure in the same city from a team rich with history to a team that's largely been downtrodden throughout their franchise's history. And there are implications when you do something like that. And I think that the Bleacher Creatures gesture on Friday, I like the nuance out of it. If anybody has not read the article on ESPN, with the Bleacher Creature guy going into detail of why that was the direction he went in, please do, because I know every fan watching is saying, oh yeah, these guys are going to be relentless, cursing at Soto, blah, blah, blah. And this guy was saying that he wished that wasn't most of what was going on, because Soto was only here for a year, and that his decision doesn't like ruin the game. It's not an earth-shattering decision that affects the fabric of the game. Like, it's not Aaron Judge leaving that. Like, what if Aaron Judge went to the Giants 2 off seasons ago? That would be some effed up stuff. Soto leaving was not anything surprising. Everybody had it in the back of their mind when they traded for him. It was just as the year had gone on, when the Yankees had found more success and they had this great duo, it was like, oh, this could be real. This could be historic. Juan Soto sees that, doesn't he? Doesn't he like being here? He seems entertained. He seems like he's having fun. Let's make this a long-term relationship. So then when the negotiations went down in the manner that they did, and no one's going to tell me otherwise, this was orchestrated by Scott Boras to get the highest bidder. Not blaming anybody here. That's how the negotiations go. Juan Soto changed his number purposely. We all know why he did that. Again, no fault of his, but this is what created the discord. Nobody was allowed to contact him, even if they did have his number, because that was what the front offices were told. So this was orchestrated. And Juan Soto could have had a say over all this. He could have told Scott Boras to be like, you know what? This is whatever. I'm already going to make the most money possible. Like, can we just loosen these grips here and I can pick and choose where I want to go? That's not the way that it went down. It went down very cold. It went down very corporate. And again, no fault to anybody here. Soto got his money. Soto apparently picked the destination that he thought was better for him and his family, and that it is what it is. But decisions have consequences, and I think that there was a significant cultural link between Soto and the Bronx, given the Dominican population, which we've discussed previously. They said, throughout the year, Dominican flags would pop up in the bleachers more and more and more throughout the 2024 season. And the fact that he was, again, Soto's great. Soto's a really good personality to have on your team. Like the article that Clappish dictated, it was like, fun guy, very open, very candid, very approachable. So like that also connecting to the fan base, that's what New Yorkers like. For as much crap as they get for being vitriolic and unforgiving and sometimes vulgar, it's like they just like people who are personable and can also rise up to the moment. And Soto was all of that. So when the negotiations went down the way that they did, fans did feel betrayed to an extent. Should they feel betrayed for the rest of their lives? Absolutely not. But guess what? There is now a link between Soto and the Yankees being in this city based on the decision he made forever. And I think that you're right. The theatrics here were top notch, and it's going to make this a must-watch game more so than ever. Like previous Yankees Mets Subway Series, like I don't think the general public cared, especially like when one team or the other was bad. Like it doesn't have the same. Yankees and Red Sox fans will watch because it doesn't matter which team sucks. It's a bloodbath every time. Always a competitive game, always high stakes. Yankees Mets, not really like that. Now, going to be like that forever. And I think if I were to guess, just based on body language and whatever, I think he was a little bit rattled. I think he was, I honestly, and I don't blame him because he did have a really great year here. And again, I think he made his impact and his imprint on the organization. I thought he might have thought there would have been a moment of appreciation and respect and love, and he didn't get that. And instead it was just nonstop, relentless boos, relentless jeers. And I think it played a role in the performance. And I think that, whether it affected him in this series or not, he's going to have to reflect on it. And I think that he'll come out on the other side. This is a guy who responds to criticism really well. Was actually nervous he would shove it back down our throats, but I think it was overwhelming to the point where it was like it was a little bit hard, and it would be hard on anybody, but it was a little bit hard for him in that moment to actually come through and properly concentrate.
Yeah, that's why I think he read the room wrong. And I think some people are, people from outside the Yankees space are going to tell Yankee fans to move on, and that's fine. And I already think to a certain degree, some of this was performative already.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think everyone in the building despises Juan Soto and wishes ill on him. And now this is going to become this thing that we do modern now where like, look, it was nice to see a crowd affect a game. The crowd is supposed to take the opposing players out of a game. Like there's been this weird movement now where like, look, there's a difference between grabbing Mookie Betts' wrist and having a hostile crowd. But going to Boston to play the Celtics, going to Boston to play the Red Sox, you're going in thinking these guys are going to make my life a living hell. The people who heckled Garrett Cole with the Kermit stuff in the bullpen before the wild card game. Like that's what this is supposed to be. And now I guarantee if Yankee fans boo Juan Soto next year too, we're going to get people coming out and think pieces and saying, enough is enough. You are affecting his mental health. This is a sport. This is an arena where he agreed to a $765 million contract to betray the people in this building. It's now their stated goal to make his life in that building miserable. And if it bleeds into the rest of his career, then it bleeds into the rest of his career. But the point is making it a hostile environment within safe boundaries for Juan Soto to visit the Bronx from here on out. And I don't think he calculated that correctly. And again, he's part of the problem here. He's the one who keeps saying the Yankees were number one, but the Yankees were number one the whole time. But then I consulted with my family and we got to a say, no, you took more money. I don't know why your family told you to take more money. I don't know if your family had a bad experience in the Bronx. I don't know if you had a worse experience in the Bronx and you were letting on. But I think the key thing people miss from outside the fandom and outside the city, and they're missing it because they want to miss it, because they don't really care. They just want to mock Yankee fans. Even when the Yankees are winning, they want to mock you about Juan Soto, even as you've moved on. Even though the rest of us realize that, hey, Aaron Judge in center field was maybe bad defensive alignment with Juan Soto in right field. Maybe he wasn't the guy to spend $760 million on if you're the Yankees, because it kind of creates a long-term defensive problem. And you don't get to get Cody Bellinger. You don't get to give Jason Dominguez an opportunity. You don't get to have Trent Grisham. Like, there's all sorts of things you don't get to do if you screw up your outfield that way. Look at what's going on in Boston right now. They signed Alex Bregman. That's fantastic. Oh, well, we had to move 8 more people and block all our prospects, and we're under 500, and everyone's angry. Was it worth it? You got your MVP, but you made a bunch of people mad. Kind of feels like a similar situation. But the important thing for everyone outside the city to realize is that it's not just about someone leaving the Yankees for the Mets. And it's not about a superstar leaving the Yankees for the Mets, because Met fans will say, you know, Yankee fans, and I heard this all day on WFAN yesterday. I was driving around, so I had the pleasure of listening to some of the stupidest people in the world get on the phone and call the radio.
So good.
What they keep saying is, this is a prick to your fragile ego as Yankee fans. You can't believe somebody would rather be on little brother than be on your team. And like, look, I understand that that's what you want to say and what you want to believe. And that was definitely,
some people believe that though. Some people do. Some fans do believe that.
And that was a surprising part of this, right? Because there is definitely a Yankees fan exceptionalism that just kind of couldn't believe he was here and didn't want to be here. But for me, what sticks out is the relationship that seemed authentic that he forged with all those fans in right field and in the bleachers last year. And I'm not still angry at Juan Soto, and I'm not going to be booing any more than anybody else. If I see him at Yankee Stadium, everyone's going to be booing him next year too, and the year after that. I'll boo. It'll be funny. It'll be fun to boo. But I don't care that he left one $760 million offer for another $765 million offer with escalators, or that it does seem extremely silly that a suite was the difference, or leaking. I still do have a problem with leaking all this baggage about some security guard, like trying to turn Yankee fans on some lower paid team employee when really they should be mad at Scott Boras or just mad at the sky. But I don't care that he left the Yankees as much as I care that he spent a whole year celebrating with his teammates. You know, Met fans were circulating the video of him in one of my favorite exchanges on Twitter last night. Met fans circulating the video of him clinching the ALCS, you know, screaming and celebrating with everybody in the dugout. And then other Met fans saying, well, yeah, that was to go to the World Series. This is May. He's not going to act the same way. And you had a Yankee fan pulling out a home run clip from him taking a late lead against the Rays last April. And they were like, I'm sorry to do this. I hate to be this person, but he was literally equally hype last April, like running down the dugout, slapping his chest, staring, admiring, throwing the bat down, vamos, running out to right field and hyping that crowd up, which got more and more Dominican flags as the year went on. It started small. It got bigger. That was his corner. kind of weird in retrospect that the judge's chambers was actually being rebranded to this Juan Soto
Soto's party, Soto's fiesta,
love fest. But I mean, that's what sticks with me. And that's why those people got the focus on Friday night, because either he was willing to turn his back on all of that for a very modest increase in salary in the bigger picture. 760 versus 765 with escalators. Like, the Yankees came to play. The Mets outbid them. But this reductive, well, the Mets offered more. Why would you turn down more money to go to a different job? Negligible money, and clearly left a comfortable situation for a less comfortable one he's still getting used to. Either that, or he never cared about the people in right field all along, which would be more or less upsetting to me. I'm not sure. But either he turned his back on a group of people that he had a strong bond with, and a bond that I think a lot of people from outside New York didn't realize was going on, or he was a fraud all year. He lied about it. So not upset about it, but I think that's the kind of behavior that warrants being treated poorly the next time you arrive to that place where you set all of those people off. And so I think it is totally fine and refreshing to see Yankee Stadium be a hostile environment to somebody. Because the Celtics said it when they came into Madison Square Garden. Everybody who's been coming to Yankee Stadium since 2004, every Red Sox, every Ray, every Jay, every Met, every Oriole, they go, wow, this crowd hates us. I can't wait to get fired up and juiced up by that. And finally, New York fans, the Celtics said it in Game 3 in Madison Square Garden. Luckily, Game 6 went a little bit better than that. But they said during that game in the mic'd up segments, Jaylen Brown being like, I love this New York crowd. Everybody loves the New York crowd because they know that there's a lot of passion they can shut up. Yeah. And so when they do it, they're so pumped. And it's been that way for 20 years. It is so refreshing to see a New York crowd go, we're targeting one player. We're taking a superstar out of this series. It's probably not going to work. He probably will respond well to this and homer and dominate. And that, I thought he would. I bet Juan Soto homered every game. I don't know how he didn't homer. I don't know what happened to him, but he disappeared and it worked. And it was really refreshing to see a New York crowd be a Boston crowd for at least one series.
Yeah, I agree. If you thought it was over the top, understood. But what would you be saying if the crowd was silent on Sunday Night Baseball? What would you be saying? Oh, Yankees fans really showed out for this one, didn't they? Like that would be what was the discourse this morning. Soto was, again, like I said, clearly affected by it. The at-bats kind of weren't there. He mostly logged walks. He 3-hopped that ball from right field on Friday night. I was like, what is going on? Like, I know he's not great. He did make that cool snare of a catch last night on that Austin Wells rip, but for the most part, completely underwhelming. And then you have the lack of hustle play in the 8th inning with DJ LeMahieu, and it's like, yeah, man, I don't care if I don't care who you are. You got to run that ball out, and there's a lot of, you really want to get toxic. Go to Mets Twitter and see what people are trying to talk about with that, because it's not pretty. I don't think it's anything indicative of who he is as a player. I think it was just the relentlessness of the mistreatment and the fact that he didn't really get a true, excellent at bat going the entire series. Yeah, his last at bat, you can bet, is probably fatigue at that point, and he check swing grounded out, and he was like, fuck this. And then he started walking, but if he was jogging at 75%, maybe he's safe on that, and it extends the inning.
Extends the inning for Pete Alonso against Devin Williams. I first guessed that because Devin Williams has been much better lately, but I want to have him face Alonso the least amount of times possible, and I want to have him face the heart of the order and Juan Soto the least amount of times possible. And then he made Alonso got into one in line at the left, made Soto look silly, made Vientos look silly. Got out of the inning. I first guessed it. I was wrong. Great job by Devin Williams. Everything came up Yankees in that game. A lot of people had to eat a lot of crow, and a lot of it started with Juan Soto, who had a run scoring opportunity in the 5th, and the run came home on the wild pitch anyway, and he did nothing, and it was very frustrating to see the narrative turn. Soto striking out on the very next pitch. Of course he did. He got frozen in his last AB. Of course he did. And then Soto in the 8th inning with the chance to change everything, with the chance to imprint upon this game, with the chance to send the Yankees to another 1-run loss, way off on the changeup, dogs it to first. DJ LeMahieu web gems him only because he does not run. That's a hit. I mean, LeMahieu makes the play clean. LeMahieu makes a great throw. But yeah, running, like you said, at 75% gets it done. And that was the moment when a whole bunch of Met fans were like, oh my God, everything Yankee fans were saying to us was not just coping. It was a real thing we had to watch for when Juan Soto played for our baseball team and when Juan Soto was given carte blanche by ownership, not just signed and not just told to be a superstar, but signed and given everything he wanted and every demand caved to. And they were basically saying, this is your team. Francisco Lindor's been here longer, but we will do anything to get you under contract. And we were like, that's kind of a dangerous game you're playing when you're just giving that guy the run of the house. And they were like, no, his defense is, I mean, with that bat, who could you care about defense? And then the defense has been pretty bad. And the effort was brutal yesterday. And yeah, he wouldn't answer questions. And he was supposed to be mic'd up in that game and told ESPN just before the game started, no, thanks. I'm tired of answering Aaron Judge questions. So I'm not getting mic'd up for the second inning. I mean, again, Yankees, if the Yankees did this, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the contract too, like, look, the Mets needed to do the Yankees didn't need to make this deal in the offseason. The Mets needed to make this deal. The time was now. They missed out on Ohtani. They missed out on Yamamoto. They missed out on Sasaki. They needed somebody of note to go there as a free agent and take a contract and be convinced that being a New York Met is the best decision for him. And that's what they did. They went out and they got Juan Soto. They took him from the Yankees, and the whole narrative shift when that happened began to slowly go into the Mets' favor. It did. It undeniably did, because the Yankees were left without the man who was arguably responsible for, if Juan Soto's on that Yankees team last year, they just don't go to the World Series. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's facts, and that's how that's just how it would have unfolded. He was a monster in the playoffs. Him and Giancarlo Stanton really did everything offensively to get that team to where it needed to be. So you take him from the Yankees and you get your own star player, 1A, whatever, him and Francisco Lindor, duo MVPs, and it shifted the conversation. It really did. And there's nothing that should be really shifting the conversation in the Yankees direction necessarily at this point. Like, the Mets are still one of the top teams in baseball.
Yeah.
Soto has yet to even perform to his capabilities yet. So there's a lot left for this Mets. There's a lot left in the tank for this Mets team to prove that they're greater than they already are. But when you look at the Yankees situation, and the reason why I was able to cope with this so quickly after he had left is because I sat there and I said, this Yankees team is already top heavy. This Yankees team is going to, again, roll out the red carpet for somebody who was here for a year, give him everything he wants, put the true face of the franchise and the star player out of position, and then not be able to properly address this roster the way it needs to be addressed. Would I like to have Juan Soto right now? Yeah, it would be really cool, I think. But at the same time, you sign him to that big of a contract, you make the concessions that you make. The Yankees, the offseason prior, had this thought process with Yoshinobu Yamamoto and said, doesn't make any sense we're paying this guy more than Garrett Cole. Like, Garrett Cole's our guy. And I do respect that thought process. I don't think that should be the case with every free agent, because every free agent's different. One free agent can change the outlook of your team for 15 years. I didn't think Yamamoto was that guy. I could be wrong. The Yankees definitely didn't feel that way. They said no way. They felt Juan Soto could have been that guy, and they ended up getting outbid. But what did this do? It gave the Yankees more flexibility to become more athletic, to be better defensively, to address areas of weaknesses that they wouldn't have been able to if they had invested all that money and then stuck Juan Soto in right field. They wouldn't have all this flexibility with Trent Grisham and Ben Rice being able to be worked into the lineup. So I don't necessarily think the Yankees are better off in the long term. That's going to depend on what moves Brian Cashman makes and if we utilize our assets correctly and spend the money correctly. But for everybody who was saying that Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Devin Williams, and either Ben Rice or Trent Grisham wasn't going to equal Juan Soto, I have some news for you. I do. It doesn't exactly equal Juan Soto, but it makes the Yankees better. It makes them tighter, and it makes them a more appealing team to watch. This isn't the NBA. You don't need one or two guys just commanding the floor and then, four guys that don't matter. Baseball doesn't operate that way. If you have, for example, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto running the show, and then you have a couple injuries to the pitching staff, and then Look at the Yankees' depth right now. Like, it's not good. It would be worse if Soto was here. So the Yankees are already dealing with a poor depth issue when they've had more resources to acquire depth. And, like, they're an injury or two away from being in a precarious place. So that's why I think Yankees fans were also able to just deal with the departure, because they said, you know what? This was going to create a headache. It's another, and again, it's a target on your back, Mets fans. Welcome. Said this before the year too. You sign somebody to an historic contract, you increase expectations, and now people are going to expect to see whatever the results are. They want elite results. You better give them elite results. If you don't, you suck. Every decision you've made has sucked, and you don't deserve to be here. I don't say that. That's the general consensus when you're talking to average fans or people on social media, or even like how a lot of this stuff has permeated regular media. First Take. I didn't watch it this morning, but I can imagine there's some shit being talked about like this in terms of it being a problematic investment for the Mets and how it didn't look good. His body language didn't look good, and the Yankees seem better off. Like, we don't make the rules, but if you're going to put yourself in this position, you got to deliver. And again, there's a lot of time for the Mets to make this up, but this was the best possible response the Yankees could have had to all of this. Because now, again, it's just distractions. They don't have to worry about anything more. Go take on your series against the Rangers this week. Put this weekend in the past. You can concentrate, play relaxed, be happy. That's it.
That's it. And guess what? The Yankees need a right-handed complement to Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, right? Because Garrett Cole's down now. Maybe he'll be back next year. You don't just save the Juan Soto money for 2025. You can sign Michael King, Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen. You can trade for some. I know they're not going to this deadline, but you could theoretically trade for somebody making $25-30 million a year because you have that money. They don't think they have that financial flexibility until next year, and that's a whole different problem. But yesterday's game just being Goldschmidt and Bellinger in the clutch, Devin Williams against the top of the lineup, Max Fried for 6 innings, and a home run to the short porch to win it, basically as one last fuck you. Like, okay, here are the 4 guys we got in your place. And by the way, here's a part of the stadium that you could have had for 81 games for the rest of your life, and you decided not to. Like, welcome back to the Bronx. What member of the Soto replacement brigade was your favorite over the weekend, and did your favorite work? But we are going to close this by being a little bit annoyed at Saturday's loss. So don't think we're going to get to the end of this saying perfect series for the Yankees, and annoyed at a specific moment from yesterday's game. But the backup plan deserves more. Which was your favorite? Because I think it's hard not to say Cody Bellinger just because he is the star of this particular show. But how about the all-around play from Paul Goldschmidt? And the Bellinger Grand Slam never happens if Goldschmidt doesn't tomahawk a 100-mile-an-hour fastball above the zone, up the middle for the 4th run of yesterday's game and the extra insurance run. Just an incredible display of hitting. And it's easy to trick yourself into, well, okay, that's just hitting, right? Well, you look where the pitch was. Look what everybody else was able to do with Ryan Stanek. Like, the best they could do was lay off the high fastball and take their base or fight it off until they got one and play Vivas. Incredible at bat. Oh my God. But like, what was the best he could do? Ground one to first after wearing him down. Goldschmidt said, I'm not waiting around for this. I can hit the high fastball. I'm going to hit it up the middle for an insurance run. And he did. I've been so impressed with him as a ball player. Not to say night and day. Soto was amazing last year. Amazing. Yep. Having them both would be a dream, but pretty great backup plan.
Yeah. When the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt, I was beyond excited. I didn't think, again, nobody thought that the production would be this good, but we knew that just the baseball acumen would be there. Whether his age caught up with him or not, I thought he was still going to be a good influence. He was still going to be like a league average bat. He still knows first base so well that even if he lost the step, he would still be an effective defender. And again, all we needed was an upgrade over a mannequin at first base. So like, the expectations were low, and Paul Goldschmidt is blowing them out of the water at this point. I think the best 1-for-1 where we can shove it down or shove it in Mets fans' faces is Bellinger. 7 hits in this series, 7 RBIs, 2 homers, and playing great defense throughout. Like, that is the closest comparison we can make in terms of the effectiveness replacement, the effective replacement from the Soto departure, because in theory, he's making close to the same money as Soto was last year. He plays an outfield position and he hits from the left side of the plate, which were all areas of need that the Yankees were looking for this offseason. And if you look at it through this lens, if you're a Yankees fan who just wants to pretend like Juan Soto, you never needed him and you don't like him and you think they'll be better off without him regardless, you can look at it through this lens. Cody Bellinger, an outfielder. Juan Soto, an outfielder. Cody Bellinger, a versatile, athletic, Gold Glove center fielder who doesn't take Aaron Judge out of position. Juan Soto, cement shoes, bad defender, takes your best player out of position. Left-handed bat. Cody Bellinger is a pull hitter and abuses a short porch. Juan Soto, an incredible hitter, but hits to all fields. Yeah. So Cody Bellinger is making better use of the short porch than Juan Soto, I think, did in the beginning of his Yankees tenure. And then the fact that Bellinger's hot streak he's on a 14 game hitting streak, 13 game hitting streak.
13, I think. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be 14.
Yeah. Coming together against the Mets in this matchup where Juan Soto was not really an impactful anything over that span of games. So, and then you look at the personality, right? Bellinger's been great with the media. He's been great with his body language. When Bellinger was not doing well and was struggling badly offensively, I didn't see anything from him that was like, oh, this guy's living in his head and he's making it all about himself. No, what did he do? He went out and he played tremendous defense and he saved this team runs and he's mentoring Jason Dominguez and he's being an influence for all these other players. Like, I understand that. And look, we were afraid when Cody Bellinger came in, right? We're like, this guy got non-tendered 2.5 years ago. Like, he could be really bad. We don't know, but he could be really bad. Like, New York coming in, trying to kind of revive your image and all that. One bad thing, and this could turn sour really fast. And to be honest, he got out of that bad stretch that could have avalanched and snowballed into what was going to be a very unwelcoming experience, which we've seen so many other players do. So Cody Bellinger is my guy for now. Just because of how all of it has gone down, how it all came together this weekend, and how I think it's the closest thing in terms of when you're looking at, are the Yankees better off? Would they be better with Soto? I don't know. Juan Soto is a better baseball player in general, but Cody Bellinger brings a lot of things to the table that help the Yankees a little bit more than Juan Soto would have been able to.
Yep. I think we're seeing that every day. Juan Soto, a megastar, a transcendent baseball player. I can't even imagine what the roster would look like with just Judge and Soto together forever, because I know how the Yankees operate. They should have signed both long-term and used it as a launching pad to be the mecca of baseball and bend the Dodgers and taking advantage of everybody else's trash. When somebody is like, Rafael Devers is angry, the Yankees should have been like, we don't care about the money, let's take him too. Yeah. But that's not how they work. It would have been Judge and Soto. They would have been incredible. I have no idea what that team would have been like. And luckily, I don't need to know because I saw it for 1 year. They went to the World Series. When they got to the World Series, they were woefully undermanned, and they had a major task ahead of them to revamp the roster and compete with the National League. And they found an alternate pathway to do that. And they let the big, extremely talented, not hating anchor go somewhere else. And it seems that Soto wanted to be back, and it seems like he's not back for whatever reason.
One more thing about Bellinger, Judge's comments in the postgame. Bellinger is, or what is it? Judge is Bellinger's protector, or Bellinger is Judge's protector. Either way, that again, another close comparison we can make. Bellinger is batting in front of or behind Judge most of the time. That's what Juan Soto was largely doing. Now it's Bellinger. And again, not saying he's a better hitter than Juan Soto, but for this series, he was worlds better. And that's where we can make the direct comparisons.
Yeah. And Judge gave Bellinger the hat tip after the game saying, I like being protected. I like when this guy's hitting behind me. Judge had to be Soto's protection last year. Now Alonso is Soto's protection. That should be pretty good protection. But for whatever reason, it's not clicking. And it will, I think. I don't think Juan Soto is Jason Bay. I know Juan Soto already has a 136 OPS plus this year. He's been very good, but we rattled him, and we're going to try to rattle him again next year. Negatives, briefly. I really thought we were going to be doing a "We Got to Move Anthony Volpe" pod, like the whole podcast. But
if they lost the game, yeah.
If they lost the game, Anthony Volpe is the focus in New York sports media this weekend and into the week, because Soto didn't do anything. You couldn't say Soto killed him unless he came through against Devin Williams. But you could have said Volpe directly killed the Yankees. The first pitch, it just caught in between in a way that indicates he's coming around offensively this year, too. He had a good Saturday. He's got a 111 OPS plus. The defense has largely been great. When Volpe, it looked like he was going to be down for a while, we were upset because he's weirdly irreplaceable and indispensable on this team. But somebody has to corner him and talk about the approach, because you see both extremes and neither works. And that's how you know someone's off balance and uncomfortable. You want to talk about uncomfortable. It's hard to be any more plainly uncomfortable than up with the bases loaded, swings at the first pitch, does exactly what the pitcher, David Peterson, wants him to do, drills a slow breaking ball into the ground for an easy topper. Next, AB comes up in the same situation, and he's like, all right, I'm not swinging first pitch because they got mad at me last time when I did that. So he took it for a ball. He took ball 2, and he took ball 3, and he's, okay, now I'm going to take 3-0 because that's what you do. And it's a perfect strike. It's now 3-1. The agency is back in Volpe's bat. Right now, he can choose his own path. And what does he do? He swings at a tailing fastball in off the plate. Strike 2. Next pitch is a tailing fastball that starts off the plate and tails further off the plate. It's a miracle he didn't swing and miss at that one. Foul ball. And the next one is pitched way below the zone, some kind of changeup that starts technically at the knees, I guess, goes well below the zone, should have been recognized, swings over it for strike 3. Anthony Volpe is a very good baseball player. Anthony Volpe is a defense-first shortstop. I think we do have to probably have a conversation about whether like a 3-WAR defense-first shortstop is a good fit on the New York Yankees long-term if he never gets any better, in the same way that, like, hey, is having 2 superstar right fielders the best idea if you can spread the money around? No. Having Juan Soto was great, but that's a weird roster fit. Can the Yankees do better than a 3-WAR shortstop whose value is mostly defensively, who hasn't hit for power really, in 2.5 years? We might have to have that talk, but at the very least, what we have to talk about now is Aaron Boone batting him 5th. And
why?
I'm not a fire Boone guy during the middle of May. And I got into arguments on Saturday, and these fire Boone people are relentless. They don't stop. And so the Yankees lose a 1-run game, and they're like, Boone's record in 1-run games is ridiculous. It's proof he has to go. And then you're like, he was good in 1-run games in 2022. And they're like, that was 3 years ago. And you're like, 1-run games are usually a coin flip, but it'll probably even out by the end of the year. And they're like, shut up, fire Boone. You're like, who are you hiring in Boone's place? And they're like, shut up, fire Boone. And it's like, it's hard to hire a manager in May. We get to the end of the year, and the 1-run games thing still hasn't evened out, and the Yankees are underperforming in a low-tier American League. Then, yeah, I'll have that conversation. I wanted to fire Aaron Boone after the 2022 playoffs when he showed the Yankees footage of the Red Sox 3-0 comeback. I was like, terrible second-half swoon for one of the best teams in recent baseball history. In the first half, mishandled postseason series against your rival, and an embarrassment on the way out the door. You want to fire him right now? I'm good to fire him. I do not need to see Aaron Boone back for 2023. And he came back. That season was an absolute nightmare through no fault of Boone's own. 2024 was his best managing job. 2025, he had a game where everything went wrong on Saturday. And he made the wrong bullpen decision. The Yankees are 5 games below their Pythagorean record because the bullpen has blown 5 games in the 8th inning or later. It's really that simple. You don't have to parse Aaron Boone's splits or whatever. Mark Leiter Jr. blew 2 and Devin Williams blew 3. If that had not happened, they would be at their Pythagorean record. Like, it's fancy math to say something simple that we all know. I don't think we need to be having the fire Boone conversation now. And of course, what happens on Sunday? The Yankees are 2-2 in the 8th inning again. It's handled perfectly. Yorbeat Vivas, who everyone yelled at Boone for not bunting in Saturday's game, despite the fact that we have no idea how skilled he is as a bunter. We know the Mets were cheating in on the corners. And look, I think I would have bunted him. I don't think it was Aaron Boone's best game on Saturday, but DJ LeMahieu line is 700 mile, a 700x batting average line out right the right fielder. A bunch of stuff happened. That 1-1 pitch, Tyrone Taylor in the 9th swung at a ball that hit him, and the umpires never reviewed it or cared or never agreed on that. A lot of stuff happened. Bad loss, pinned on everybody's shoulders. But 2-2 game in the 8th yesterday. Everybody's saying Aaron Boone can't win a one-run game. This shit's over. And what happens? They go up 8-2. And so now it doesn't fall into the one-run game category because they were too good in a clutch situation. And Vivas came up too clutch. So now you don't get to point to it as a one-run game because you scored and you added on. So now it's in a different column. We have to still have this one-run games argument. Aaron Boone is not a perfect manager. Aaron Boone's roster is not perfect. Brian Cashman's roster construction is not perfect. But Aaron Boone right now can move Anthony Volpe out of the 5 spot and shouldn't be so precious about keeping him there. And Jason Dominguez's defense, what is Aaron Boone to do about this? Now that we have this overall DH rotation, you've got Ben Rice, you have Stanton coming back. You already have too clogged a lineup to begin with. A little bit of that uncomfortable construction that only gets more uncomfortable if Soto stays. Grisham is way better than we thought he would be. Now he's playable. You can go Grisham, Bellinger, Judge, Dominguez at DH more than you thought you could. You can give Dominguez a breather. You can give Ben Rice a breather. You can manage these personnel. But I do think Aaron Boone has these 2 challenges on his plate. And I do think we can say the Volpe thing, you should have acted already. And his presence in the 5-hole yesterday almost lost them this baseball game. And the Dominguez thing is going to be delicate all year, but you have to keep your eye on it, especially after Cody Bellinger took matters into his own hands on Saturday.
Yeah. I think Volpe is always going to be an Aaron Boone problem because of, again, the way the organization treats Volpe. Every time Volpe shows signs of life at the plate, not every time, historically, since he's debuted, every time he's shown signs of life at the plate, he's immediately been tasked with a new role, whether it's batting leadoff, whether it's batting cleanup, whatever it is, whether it's pinch hitting in a big situation. And the Yankees are not understanding that they just need to let Anthony Volpe do what he's doing at the bottom of the lineup. Anthony Volpe is not a leadoff hitter. I hate to tell you guys that. Anthony Volpe is not a cleanup hitter. Hate to tell you guys that. Anthony Volpe is not a number 5 hitter. Sorry. Anthony Volpe is a bottom of the order hitter who lengthens the lineup and can turn it over with his speed or whatever else. The at-bats have been better this year, I will say. Is that saying a whole lot? No, because the at-bats last year were really bad for the most part. So at least we're seeing some progress in terms of him being a little bit more patient, but we're still seeing the chases out of the zone. We're still seeing the concerning strikeouts, and we're still seeing the absolute disregard for the situation in high leverage or meaningful at-bats. So Anthony Volpe is slower to develop than all of these other shortstop prospects who have come up and clouded our judgment in terms of thinking, oh, well, we have one of those guys. Shouldn't he be a perennial all-star and cornerstone of the organization? No, doesn't work like that all the time. Anthony Volpe, again, good defender, good asset to have on your team, not a guy you bat 5th, not a guy you call upon in big situations, a guy who is going to be out there every day because he's incredibly durable, a guy who's going to bring the energy every day because he has that mentality, and a guy who's going to work hard and try to get better and try to put forth meaningful at-bats as best he can. The talent, I think, is either plateaued in a sense, or there needs to be a readjustment on how he can morph into a superstar. But it's just not there. And I think that because we're on year 3, Aaron Boone needs to give up on that. The Yankees organization needs to give up on that and just know that they have a good baseball player on their hands who has limitations, who needs to be put in a position to succeed and not be bothered. He should be batting no higher than 6th. And I know you're looking at, oh, what's the difference between 5th and 6th? I mean, proved to be a big difference last night. And guess what? Here is another thing that I don't have an answer for. I don't know who else you bat 5th unless Ben Rice is in the lineup. So I don't know what the answer would have been. I just know it's definitely not Anthony Volpe. People would have been outraged if it was DJ LeMahieu. I know that. People probably would have been outraged if it was Jason Dominguez because he was hitting from the right side of the plate. So everyone would have been outraged if it was Austin Wells because he's batting 200. So I know there's an imperfect solution here, but we know the answer is not Anthony Volpe because whenever he's moved to a bigger, a more encompassing role in the lineup, he doesn't deliver. And when the pressure mounts on him, the results are the exact opposite. And we're still seeing the mechanical stuff. We're still seeing the lack of discipline. So that doesn't warrant more important at bats. That's what I'll say about there. Love Anthony Volpe, though. Those at-bats were frustrating, but it is what it is. Aaron Judge, I wanted to jump off a cliff watching Aaron Judge on Saturday. So, like, I love Aaron Judge, but, like, those at-bats were so bad. And, again, like, last night comes up in that situation, strikes out uncompetitively. It looked like you might as well have been pitching to the 9-hitter, and I'm just like, how does this happen? I don't understand how it's like he's almost getting in his head in some of these instances, or at least it's what it feels like, because it's so uncharacteristic of him to go down that easily in a time where the lineup needs him the most. So it is what it is. I think we're going to be fine. As for Dominguez's defense, just like you watch the Saturday highlights and you're like, what's going on, man? Like, he's stabbing at routine fly balls. He constantly like doesn't know where the wall is. I feel he has no grasp of the dimensions at Yankee Stadium. Like absolutely none. And you would think it would have at least improved by now, but like even that gapper from Vientos, that would have been a tough play. And I totally understand, like, you're not asking him to make that. Like, dive maybe, like, Cody Bellinger's backing you up, like, make a leap for it. Or like the Alonso RBI single in the fourth inning or whatever it was. It's a line drive single that's in front of him, and he's running backwards diagonally. And it's just like, does he not know how to take routes on balls? It just, I don't know. And then you have the sac fly in the ninth where he needs to be gaining ground behind the ball to get in a position to throw home, and he's not. So Cody Bellinger's like, I guess I'll fucking take it because you're not in any position to make this throw, even if you were to field the ball. And then Cody Bellinger half gets positioned and still almost throws the runner out. So, like, I don't understand why this is so hard for Dominguez. This was a 5-tool player who was regarded as a very good defender, who had incredible arm strength and can cover a ton of ground. And I have not seen any of that. And I have barely seen any progress. And people might say that there's been progress, and I guess we could pull out the clips and we can look at it. But the fact of the matter is this. You're a professional baseball player in the outfield, so the routine plays should be made. If you're not making routine plays, you're not a professional outfielder. That's just the way it is. So, like, we're not clapping for Jason Dominguez to run and catch a ball in the corner. That's what he needs to do. We're clapping for Jason Dominguez to make a robbery at the wall, diving into the gap, throwing a runner out at home, and we have literally seen none of that. And it's we're getting further and further away from him actually developing into a capable defender. So, not Aaron Boone's fault. Again, this is an organizational problem. This is dating back to last year with how they treated him, how they threw him in the outfield, and then how they abandoned him later in the year when they realized it wouldn't be tenable. So I think to an extent, both parties are at fault, but like, how much more run are you going to give him? And especially, look, I like him. I think he has a place on this team, but like, most of the offensive stats are coming from that A's game. He's got 5 homers and 21 RBIs. 3 homers and 7 RBIs came from that game. So the offense needs to either there one or two things. Look, we talked about this in the beginning of the year. If Jason Dominguez is going to hit 30 home runs, I don't give a fuck about the defense. I don't. I really don't. But if he's going to bat 240 and OPS, what is he OPSing? Is he in the low 700?
763 right now? Yeah, 117 OPS plus on the season, which I think would surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, look, ballpark factors are always a little bit different. But like striking out a ton, the home runs aren't there, and the overall consistency isn't there. So like, he's almost striking out at a 30% rate. So like, this is the trade-off we can't have. We can't have okay offense or like offense that leaves a lot to be desired and a problem in left field. It's got to be one or the other. You got to be sterling defender with no issues, or you have to be OPSing 800 for most of the year, and you got to be in the 20 to 30 home run range. And I just don't know if we're going to see that, but maybe the defensive stuff is affecting him at the plate. I really don't know, but that Saturday showing on defense was bad. Like, I think fans forget about it too, because there's some games where like you just don't get a lot of balls hit to you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, how many days on the calendar since Jason Dominguez made a mistake? We're at 4. Yeah, it could have been a light week for him out there. But again, have not seen a spectacular play from Jason Dominguez yet this year. Oh, no, I saw one. Caught that one at the wall and crashed into the wall.
Yeah.
And his hat fell off.
Exactly one. And his hat fell off, so got to fix that hat. I mean, credit to him, though. He did offensively to start the 8th inning exactly what Volpe could not do in the 7th. Like, took Stanek top of the zone. The announcers were saying exactly what – the announcers were laying plain, like, how easy it is. Not easy to hold off on that pitch because it's tempting, and it's 101. 101, by the way. Why does Ryan Stanek throw 101 now? Who knows? But Dominguez, extreme patience there, paid off, and maybe he's your number 5 hitter for now, for the time being.
Maybe.
It just cannot be Anthony Volpe. Fire Boone. I'll have the conversation at the end of the year. We'll see where we are at the end of the year. Playoff underperformance or not even getting there. Yeah, I'm in. I am all the way in. Let's talk about it. Firing Boone on May 17th. You would have missed out on a pretty exciting win on Sunday if you'd fired Boone on May 17th. I don't think the Yankees win that game on a Sunday evening if they had fired Boone the day before. So be careful what you wish for. And hey, that's a message to Juan Soto too. Juan, be very careful what you wish for. If the Bob Clappish juicy nuggets are true, oh boy, buddy, it's going to be a long 15 years, man. I don't know. Your family has sway. I thought Juan Soto's family was Yankee fans too. Like, that's what we were told when he got here.
His dad, right?
His uncle
his
that
uncle,
was showing up at the stadium wearing like a, here for Soto shirt and a Yankee hat. And I don't know. I don't know which family he talked to. I don't know who Steve Cohen, got the Kavorka over on, but clearly Steve Cohen wooed some members of the Soto family. And they better hope they get the version of Juan Soto who wants to be there, because I don't know what we're seeing so far. He'd be a pretty good number 6 hitter if the Yankees happen to need one. That is it for today's podcast. We will see you. This was the best of the year. We were right. We weren't wrong. I told you it would be, and it was. We will see you on Thursday. The Yankees will be fresh off playing, I can't believe I'm saying this, Ryan Yarbrough against Jacob deGrom on Wednesday. Go get your wins. Free wins there. Get your bets in. That's a lot more fun now. The Yankees have taken care of the Mets. We get this weird series with the Rangers. Got to face Patrick Corbin and deGrom and Eovaldi. Why aren't the Rangers better? I don't know. We'll find out in person this week in Yankee Stadium. I'm Adam Weiner. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner. Thomas Carinante. Where can the people find you?
They can find me at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget it. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the content is. We'll be writing all week. We got a lot of Soto stuff coming out. We're simply having a good time. So let us do that and join us, because it'll be just as fun for you. And until then, we'll talk to you on Thursday. That'll be a night game against the Rangers, I assume, on Thursday.
No, it is
the
noon.
Day game?
12:05.
All right, so we'll be on during the game for you fine folk.
Yeah, for whatever reason. 7 o'clock, or maybe like 6:40. I don't even know anymore. But
cool.
Like 7 o'clock, noon on Thursday. So join us live for the back 9 of that game. Hopefully that'll be fun.
Great. Let's do it.
Until Thursday's show, I'm Adam Weiner for Thomas Carinante. We will catch you then. Please subscribe if you have not to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you have not to the audio feed. Rate and review us if you haven't done that either. We'd love to see you right back here Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern, talking about another New York Yankees series against a team they might actually face off with in the American League playoffs, instead of a team they won't see until the World Series, and a team that has to contend with the Dodgers and Padres to even get there. Oh boy, could not be me. We will see you on Thursday's show.